September '88 edition of Directions, AT&T's all-employee video magazine. This edition marks a special occasion for Directions. Beginning with this edition, Directions will be closed captioned for the hearing impaired. Coming up, we'll see why the Democratic National Committee cast its vote for AT&T. We'll take a look at how alternative operator services are competing in the special long-distance marketplace. And we'll go to the California coast, where the pioneers are working to save the endangered dunes of Monterey Bay. But first, Bob Allen.
I'm pleased to be able to share some of my thoughts about the business through the Direction series. I know that many of you are concerned about some of the actions that we've taken in recent weeks, the hiring freeze, the redeployment, some of our people from staff jobs to sales or sales support jobs, and probably about some of the efforts that are underway to reduce our cost. There's no question that our costs are still too high in the business, regardless of the activities that we've taken in recent years. We have to have a continuous cost reduction mentality in this business because that's what our competitors do. And at the same time, we have to think about continuous improvement in service to our customers. And so it's for those reasons that we have implemented those activities that I mentioned, the hiring freeze, the redeployment, and special activities underway to increase, or improve, I should say, our cost performance. I believe those are the right things to do for the business. I believe we can manage those activities well so that we don't create a lot of turmoil in the business, that we don't have unnecessary cuts in the business, and that we will have, as a result of that, a much stronger and a better company, which is something we're all interested in. Now, we can all help in that process, whether you're a manager or not. Managers have to make judgments and decisions about how to allocate resources, about which projects can be stopped and which must continue, which add value in the value chain of serving our customers. But even if you're not a manager, you're in a position to know which of those activities are most productive, which of them are serving our customers well, or your customers well, which of them probably may be nice to do but not necessary. So everyone can participate in this process. We have a lot of problems to fix. Every business has a lot of problems to fix. But I think we're on the track of beginning to fix those problems, and everyone can help in that process. And I think we can do that in such a way that we can improve the short-term performance of the business and service to our customers, and also be consistent with long-term performance. There are a lot of examples. Just a couple I might cite in the business that are currently underway in the GBS organization. They're taking a look at all of their methods and procedures and processes. And the whole idea of their undertaking is to improve service to the customer, improve the performance on the cost side, and really do the kind of a job that we all want to do and be satisfied with. There's another activity in the network operations group that really focuses on large business installations. They have about 100 teams that are dedicated to large business PBX installations. And they're having such success with that they've reduced the installation time spent on many of these projects by up to as much as 65%. Those are just a couple of examples. There are others. But each of us, all of us, have a stake and a role in AT&T's success. And I'm convinced that if we can make the right judgments, if we can put the resources where they belong, closer to the customer, and if we can do our best to constantly improve our cost performance and improve our quality performance, then I think we can make AT&T the real success that we all want it to be. I hope you'll help. Thank you.
I accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
In Atlanta, Georgia, the 40th Democratic National Convention culminated in the acceptance speech of Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis as the Democratic contender for President of the United States. Along with vice presidential running mate Senator Lloyd Bentsen of Texas, the Democratic ticket was off and running in its bid for the White House. For the over 35,000 party members and media people who attended, the success of the four-day convention relied heavily on how well people communicated with each other.
We have described this convention as the most high-tech, state-of-the-art convention in history.
To provide the crucial electronic link for voice and data, the Democratic National Committee chose AT&T.
AT&T was selected because of their track record, and not necessarily on price, but basically on the performance and quality of the service they offer. And the response to date has just been overwhelming. I couldn't ask for any more.
Providing successful communication solutions for the Democratic National Convention resulted from listening to what the customer wanted.
I think the main thing we've done that's helped us be successful is that we've listened to the customer needs. Through this process, the customer has had a hard time trying to figure out what they wanted, and rather than us forcing the issue, we've sat back and let them come to a logical conclusion themselves.
Planning the network for the convention began almost a year before the July 18th opening ceremonies. AT&T set up its own temporary headquarters to take orders for the over 9,000 private lines that would be required.
This is Jeannie Richler at AT&T in Atlanta, and I'm working on the Democratic National Convention.
Just 3 weeks prior to the convention, the floor of the Omni Coliseum looked like this. With only a few weeks to install the over 500 circuit miles of cable in the Coliseum and the adjacent Georgia World Congress Center, AT&T technicians worked around the clock.
Well, we're going to cut them down on blue boards instead of leaving them modular, okay?
Okay, you need to get with Jared because he's already plugged the tail in.
Right.
To the first binder on this cable here for ABC, and it's already working.
Okay.
The installation required more technicians than were locally available. So despite the long hours and hard work, many technicians volunteered for the project. And in the spirit of the convention, project manager Larry Wolf got a real Democratic representation.
We ended up getting right at 40 technicians brought in here. And I must say they are the class technicians in the Southeast that I know about. And they've come all the way from Texas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida, and Alabama. And they're all been real good to work with.
Beyond provisioning the traditional voice and data services, AT&T provided solutions to two critical needs the Democrats wanted to address: messaging and voting.
Madam Chairman! Maryland with pride cast 25 votes for Reverend Jesse Jackson, 59 votes for the next president of the United States, Michael Dukakis.
Roll call voting is a slow but time-honored tradition at political conventions and probably will always remain so. However, in other balloting, such as party rules and platform issues, the Democrats wanted a computerized voting system to speed up the process. AT&T provided IVAS, an integrated voting and information system. Working to the Democrats' specifications, AT&T programmers developed custom software for the Unix-based 3B2600s that would render the computerized voting process user-friendly.
Naturally, the first and foremost thing that the Democrats wanted was for these things to be very user-friendly, very easy to operate for a non-computer user. So what we've done is we've used the 510A terminal, which is a touchscreen terminal. We've created menus on the terminals, which means that when a vote is in progress, the only thing that the delegate will have to do is actually touch the terminal, touch the touchscreen on the terminal.
I found the AT&T electronic voting system to be extremely helpful. Frequently you get overwhelmed with a paper and someone coming up, picking up. It was much quicker, much easier than it used to be with the old-fashioned way.
I think it was particularly useful during the platform fights where the several votes were being totaled at the same time. One thing you were clear with the computer was what issue you were voting on. The states didn't all have to be counted on one issue before the vote could be taken on another issue, and it was extremely accurate and avoided the errors that might come in with using pieces of paper.
Messaging was the other problem the Democrats wanted addressed at their convention. With over 35,000 participants, reaching people at large conventions like this can be next to impossible.
I have several people who I've been trying to track down on various days throughout the week, and none of them are really stationed anywhere permanent. They're kind of moving around from hospitality suite to the floor.
AT&T's message center was designed to solve that problem. The center was staffed by 300 AT&T volunteers and handled up to 20,000 messages. Names were displayed on TV monitors located around the convention center, making messages instantly accessible to everyone.
It's been excellent. It's been efficient, and the folks who actually give you the messages are very courteous and very forthcoming. I think we're all in AT&T's debt for this particular process.
The message center, the IVAS computerized voting system, telephones, networking, and AT&T people. For the delegates and the news media who attended, AT&T provided the vital link for voice and data communications at the Democratic National Convention. Frank Gore is a traveling salesman from Pitman, New Jersey. He spends a lot of time on the road, and when he needs to call a customer, it's usually from a public payphone. So it wasn't unusual when Frank pulled into the Harrison House restaurant to call a client in Baltimore using his AT&T calling card.
I'm in Mullica Hill, New Jersey right now, and I'm on my way down to Baltimore. Are you going to be available about 4 o'clock this afternoon? I'd like to stop in and show you a new product we've got.
What was unusual was the cost of the call, and that unknown to Frank, his call was not handled by AT&T.
I was mystified. I tried to punch my number into the phone, it wouldn't take, and the operator came on and just identified herself as the operator and verbally asked me for the credit card, and I just figured that their AT&T computers were down that day. And I gave it to her, and it wasn't until about 8 weeks later when the bill arrived that I realized that I had been victimized, for lack of a better word.
AT&T has faced many challenges to special long-distance services since divestiture. As Frank Gore found out, one of the significant challenges comes from companies that provide alternative operator services. These AOSs sell their services to large users of dial-O calls, such as hospitals, hotels, and private payphone companies. For example, an AOS contracts with a hotel to intercept all credit card, collect, and bill to third-party calls. As the AOS operator completes a call, the customer might be unaware that an alternative operator service is involved, and unless the AOS identifies itself, the caller might even assume that AT&T has handled the call until weeks later when the phone bill arrives with long-distance charges from an unknown company. AOSs often charge higher rates than AT&T to support their service and provide attractive commissions to the hotels. The AOS emergence has been swift. A year ago, AT&T knew of only 2 companies offering alternative operator services. Today, nearly 40 companies are involved, and they have captured a significant share of the market for operator services competing directly with AT&T for customers and revenues. Plus, their high prices and varying standards of service are creating dissatisfied customers who confuse AOS service with AT&T's. How is AT&T responding to the emergence of AOSs and the competitive environment for special long distance?
The efforts that we're making are very similar to what we did in the equal access in the OnePlus market. And that is that we are attempting to pre-subscribe those telephones that we can at this point, those telephones in hotels and hospitals in the markets where the AOS is competing with us. And we are also making an effort to educate our consumers, educate our large users of the AT&T card. And our greatest ability to protect the AT&T brand in the provision of special long-distance service is through the operator. By their branding of every call, thank you for using AT&T, or this is the AT&T operator, they're ensuring our customers that they've reached the AT&T service and they can count on the rates, they can count on the quality.
Thank you for using AT&T.
Frank Gore, who, like many, learned about alternative operator services firsthand, knows that competition is here to stay. But until prices stabilize, Phil Barr recommends a few precautions for Frank and the public payphone user.
Those customers need to know that when they are on the road, there's competition, and that they don't always reach the AT&T operator. And so we're making an effort through our own operators, through letters to the cardholders themselves, that there is competition, and that when they need to listen for the AT&T brand. And this is not only a message for consumers, it's a message for our employees as well. that when they're traveling on business or pleasure, that they need to look and listen for the AT&T brand. And when they hear, if they don't hear it, then they need to ask the operator to be sure if they've reached AT&T. And if they've not, and they want AT&T, they need to ask that operator how they can access. And if that operator doesn't know, then perhaps the hotel operator can give them directions on how to reach AT&T directly. But again, it's back on the consumer. It's a buyer beware environment. The consumer needs to know what operator service provider they have reached.
The fragile beauty of this native California plant life was threatened with extinction until a full-scale conservation project was started. The endangered dune area had been closed off to the public, but thanks to a massive volunteer effort by the telephone pioneers, a half-mile boardwalk is being built so people can enjoy the delicate natural beauty of the dunes.
I didn't know who the telephone pioneers were when I first heard of them. I had heard that they'd done a lot of different projects for in-state parks, specifically for the benefit of disabled people. And I thought, well, maybe they can help me out. And so I called them up and explained the project to them, told them the size of it, and they immediately, jumped on it and said, we can do that. We'd love to do that.
This vast project was to be completed in less than 4 days, a task that would require laying over 5 linear miles of board.
Pioneering is a community service organization, and we go out and we find a need in our communities, and we help in any way we can. We help battered women, we help the street people, we help in soup kitchens, we help retarded kids and adults. Wherever there's a need, we want to be there.
We have something going in just about every community in the United States and Canada, because where do you not have telephone employees?
The boardwalk was designed to slope at a 5% grade to make it wheelchair accessible. In addition, tap rails will be added for the blind.
Bring your end in toward Joe.
You don't necessarily know what the project is going to be until you get the notice in the mail. But that's fine. If it needs to be done, we're going to be there.
My husband and I, this is our anniversary today. I don't know how he talked me into doing this, but I'm kind of glad that we did.
We get these together so we don't be out.
There's no rule that says to be a good pioneer and get a gold star, you have to work X hours a month. That's not it at all. A lot of the folks contribute money, some contribute material, some do nothing, and a good many of them work as you see here today, spend their weekends, vacations, holidays, a lot of their free time on the project.
No, I like this. You guys did a nice job.
Oh, thank you.
If anybody has any doubts about human beings and whether whether we're a decent species or not, as far as our impact upon the earth and all that, they met the telephone pioneers. Their faith in human beings would be completely restored.
We are over 700,000 strong in the U.S. and Canada. And you add another 700,000 partners, then 200,000 or 300,000 future pioneers. We're getting close to 1.75 million to 2 million people shortly when we complete this next year of membership work that can have an effect on humankind in this country that's kind of mind-boggling.
You get hooked, you're hooked.
Yeah, once you find something you like, and then you're hooked, you just can't back away.
Don't just sit back and wait for somebody else to help these people. Get out and give us a hand to help them. All you have to do is say yes.
Come along and find out for yourself if it doesn't really become a magnificent obsession for you like it does for the rest of us.
This has been the September '88 edition of Directions, an ongoing portrait of who we are today and where we're going next. Look for our next edition when we take a look at those who volunteered for redeployment and how they're doing. We'll be back in November with more.